All right, we are live, and I'm excited for my guest today for the next Super Terb podcast, but you guys know the drill. Let me go ahead and get this shared to our personal page, and we're going to get started for the first Super Terb podcast of freaking 2022. It's hard to, can't believe it's 2022. So let me get this going. Let's see, make sure we take Travis here. There he is. And we are going to get started. We are there. Make sure I hit record down here. And welcome to the Super Terb podcast. I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Untitled Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, a.k.a. Super Terb, a.k.a. Coach Terb. And I'm here for the 40th podcast of the Super Terb podcast, which I can't believe I started about a year ago fall to talk real estate, business, sports, and beer in the triangle. And I am excited about my guest I have on today, bringing in episode 40. I have the one and only T-Bone, or Travis Hancock. We all know him as T-Bone down in the Charlotte area. WFNZ is the co-host of the Mac Attack. And I cannot wait to have him on, talk sports, talk about how he started with radio and just to hear his story. But as you guys know, before I bring Travis on, I have my real estate update for 2022. I posted my 2022 forecast and got a lot of interest there. Like, Terb, what is the forecast looking like? We saw this article from Zillow that we're expecting another 24% appreciation in 2022. Is that going to happen? The answer to that is I don't know, but I will tell you this. In the last 12 to 18 months, we've seen a 20 to 25% appreciation. And every home that we list and sell, or every home that my buyers buy, they're paying more than the next home. So we're expecting anywhere from 20 to 25% appreciation. And that's due, again, to the lack of inventory and the high demand. So if you're at all thinking about selling your home, guys, I did a video yesterday. I know it's a little bit scary because the number one question we have is, where are we going to go, Terb? Should we rent, Terb? Do we need to have temporary housing, or can we buy without selling? We have all the answers. We have all the solutions that we can do to help you accomplish your real estate goals. And the flip side, if you're thinking about buying and you're thinking, I'm going to wait for this crash, I'm going to wait for the downturn, I'm going to tell you this. We need inventory to have a bubble, and we don't really see anything changing, honestly, for the next 2 to 5 years. Because, again, it's supply and demand. And right now we have about a 2 to 3 week inventory here in Wake County, or we like to say Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel area. So to have a buyer-seller market, you need to be about a 5 to 6 month supply. So it's going to take time for inventory to build up over that time. So if you're all thinking about getting into the market, let us know how we can help you, because interest rates are still very, very low. And the faster you get in, the best rate you're going to have, and obviously lower payment. So that's my real estate tip for you guys now. I'm going to take a quick break, and I can't wait. I'm going to have T-Bone on the other side. And welcome back to the Super Terb podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Untitled Group, Coldwell Banker HPW, and I have T-Bone. Did anybody ever call you Travis?
No, I don't even know what that even means. Hey, thanks for having me. I love your studio. It's lovely here. You've got Duke jerseys up and the Gamecocks and the Yankees I'm backwards on my screen, but Yankees is over here. Actually, I'm in my own kitchen, but I traveled a long way to do this for you, Super Terb. Hey, did you just start out as Terb, or how'd you become Super Terb? Were you just Terb, and then one day you're like, I'm an extra version of Terb? How'd this happen?
It's a great question, and I love getting asked this. So my last name, of course, is Turbit for everybody listening out there. So my nickname went on as Terb, and that was with the B and not a D. And when I coached, the kids always never read, because I don't know if you know this, T-Bone, but I was a college basketball coach. You know, I was a manager with Coach from 99-02. So I was Coach Terb. So I got into real estate in 06 with my mom, who's done this now 34 years. I thought, I'm going to go sell real estate. How hard would that be? I started right before the financial crisis of 08. And so everybody knows me as Terb. But a few years ago, I started, I wanted to be Super Terb. So I did a couple videos. I'm very big with social. And that's how it started. So I got my Super Terb shirt on right now. I hope buyers.
Oh, look at that! I need one of those. Send me one. I need a suit. It's got a T on there, like T-Bone. Now you did a great intro with all that real estate stuff, right?
Yeah. I
have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'm a sports guy. I'm taking notes though. You've got interest. You've got stuff. You're using terms. I don't even know what they even. I didn't come on to talk math and all this. I talk sports.
I know. I got people already commenting. I have some friends chiming in, T-Bone. Now, before we start, how did you get T-Bone? What's that nickname from?
I don't remember, honestly. Well, it's a very simple story. My name is Travis. So when I first started as the intern, there was a host named Sandy Penner, who was Mac, my current host, co-host. I was the intern, and they were the hosts. and everyone gets a radio nickname. You don't really get to choose it, especially when you're the intern. So George on Seinfeld tried to name himself T-Bone. So that they just call. I didn't really. There wasn't some sort of marketing campaign. There wasn't a vote. No. I tried to name myself Studley at one point, but and then I went through a tough guy phase when I thought my name could be Nails, like a tough biker name. But no, it's been T-Bone the whole way through.
I love it. And your one claim to fame, many people may not know this, you did
one claim to fame.
Your biggest claim to fame is you went to school with Chris Paul. Now, did you play with Chris Paul?
Well, technically speaking, yes. Because we also so West Riverside High School, Winston-Salem. I went to middle school with Chris Paul also. He also lived right near my neighborhood. So like we've been around each other for a long period of time, and our bank accounts now nearly match up. That's how close we are in proximity there. We played basketball together because when I was in 8th grade and he was in 7th. Now, keep in mind, no one at that time, he wasn't like a phenom. It wasn't like, oh, this guy's going to go on to be maybe the greatest point guard of all time, right? But in 7th grade, he knew that he was good. His brother was a pretty prominent player in the area. So I was in 8th grade. He was in 7th grade. At basketball tryouts, Haynes Middle School, he put a crossover dribble on me, right?
Yeah.
So bad, I fell down. From lying, I'm flying. Both my shoes fell off. One shoe went to the right, one went to the left. He handed me. How embarrassing is it, Super Terb, when a guy's got to hand you your shoes back? And that's that right there, that the middle school coach said, maybe it is broadcasting for you. I said, yeah, you're right. Put my shoes on. So we did play together. And then in high school, he was on the court becoming a dominant player, high school All-American, Wake Forest. Didn't really know what NBA career he'd have yet. We didn't know. He's a smaller guard. But I was close, very close. I was in the student section leading the cheers as one of the pep club members.
And so at that point you said.
So any photo, Super Terb, any photo that you see of him on the court back in the 2002 range, you look close enough, I'll probably back there somewhere.
I'll do it. I'll look. So that's what made you go into broadcasting. Is that what said I'm going to go into radio?
That was the first. I grew up in Connecticut, right near about an hour from New York City. So when we would drive around, Mike and the Mad Dog, the most famous, local sports radio show ever, the pioneers of what we do really for the current format, they had their show in New York. So drive with my dad, and we would listen, and I'd be like, what are these guys yelling about? And then got the bug, and I got addicted to them when I was like 6 years old. And then I learned to read the newspaper or learned to read via the sports section of the news. So my whole life was sort of set to be something sports related, and it certainly wasn't going to be in athletics. So I had a moment, too, in basketball camp around that same time when Chris Paul shook me when I was doing a shooting drill at basketball camp. And the coach, different person, same time period. The coach of the camp, name in a second here. The name of the coach, the coach or the leader of the camp said, "You ever think about just talking about sports?" That was Dave Odom, the coach at Wake Forest back then. The coach of Tim Duncan and Randolph Childress. So middle school coach asked me to talk sports. Dave Odom asked me to talk sports. I finally realized about eighth grade or so. Now this is where it's headed. This is where it's going.
You and I have that in common. I mean, because I went to I had aspirations to be Division I basketball player. I got to high school, and my high school subtly said, "How about coaching?" So that's how I got into it. I went to Charlotte, and I went in. I remember I went in to see Coach Rob Moxley when Bobby Lutz head coach. I want to be a student coach. I had no idea what I was signing up for. He said, "Good, go wash that laundry," and that's how it started. And then that led me on to my coaching career. So
now my brother was a great athlete, and I knew how to play the game. Like I knew I was cerebral. I was a cerebral assassin. Like I just didn't have the athletic ability to go on once guys got bigger and stronger. I was a pretty good athlete when I was growing up because I could work my way around it. But once it got to the early high school time, I just couldn't. My brother was a great football player, though. His wide receiver in Orlando, he lived away from me, was Brandon Marshall, the NFL great. So I went to high school with Chris Paul, and he went to high school and was actually friends with Brandon Marshall. So that's kind of a cool little side story there too. But my brother though was like a really good athlete. I was more the I was a very good bench player, and I won a lot of awards for sportsmanship.
I love it. So how long have you been on the Mac Attack, man? I know you've been doing it for a while now.
I started when I had just turned 21. So since 2005. Now, I haven't been in my current role since 2005. I was a producer, kind of like a hybrid guy, on-air producer, background guy, in and out, could do a little bit of everything, but didn't have a main hosting role. I was a producer mainly from 2005 until Jim Slaney, our legendary host, retired in 2016, and I was a producer. I ran the board, 2 separate producing skills. I booked the guests. I did all the production work. I ran the board during the show, and I co-hosted the show. So I did not really, kind of unheard of in a lot of ways. I did 3 jobs at once for about 3 years, and they finally said, you know what, we can't. It's not fair. So then I've been a permanent co-host, just the co-host since 2019. But I've been in some form on this. I've been with Mac, my host, either as his producer or co-host since 2005. It's my only radio job I've ever had. I've never left. I've only had 2 jobs ever: Food Lion, bagging groceries, and then this. So I'm pretty blessed to not have to go through what a lot of people go through so far.
Do you even consider it work?
Yeah, it is, because you put a lot of work into it. Now, right. Is it hard work? It is, because I think some people just see the time of the day.
I guess I'll rephrase the question, because I can see it more as a passion. It's like I think you love what you do.
Yeah, you do. And there's nothing else I could really do. Like, trust me, I've thought about it, and I'm like, what am I good at? And I wrote a list down one day, and I was good at nothing. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, might as well make this work, right? But no, the one thing it does change a little bit is always a fan. I mean, look at the stuff behind me. But you're always a fan. But you have to almost watch it sometimes from a different perspective. So certain games, yes, I'm a fan, but I'm also a guy that has to try to figure out, why did that happen? What does this mean? What's the storyline? So there are certain games when it does actually feel like, okay, this is more work than the average. Like when I watch the Hornets play, it's fun. But I do the pregame show and the postgame show, and I do the Mac Attack. So I have to watch the Hornets from a different lens a little bit.
Right.
I'm a Knicks fan also. So when I watch them play, it's just a fan. Like, I'm just, there's no other things going on. And sometimes it's with the Panthers and the local teams, because I talk about them so much, despite being a fan, I have to almost have this little work mentality that goes with it, as opposed to some other teams.
No, I'd have a tough time subjective or objective or whatever for my Panthers right now.
And sometimes it's good to have a night when it's like, hey, I can just be a fan tonight. I can just watch this and not have to think about the ramifications and the why and the stats. And those could be good nights too. Like a Friday night when there's just a game on, it's like, okay, I'm off tomorrow. Just let me zone out and enjoy the game like a fan would.
So you've said you've been in part of radio, I believe, since 2005. What would you say the biggest thing that you've seen change in radio while you've been working in it?
Social media, no doubt. Like, that wasn't – Facebook was just there when I started, but it was like you had to have you were around. It was just had to have a college password, and it wasn't like a national – it's almost like a niche thing. If you were in college or near college – I actually had a UNC Greensboro password for 7 years, despite not going there. We can talk about that another time. No, I had to work my way through to the Facebook. No, but it's the social media is completely. Social media. I don't even remember a time without it now, when Twitter wasn't going every day, or whatever form we're talking about now. Now we have a text line every day where you get instant feedback whether you want it or not, all day long. And that could be a really good thing, or it can be a really negative thing. So there's, like anything else, there's good of social media and there's bad. And I get my tiffs and fights all the time with people. And then there's the people that love you. So you can develop relationships through that stuff. You can also find out that there's some really seedy, nasty individuals out there as well that are just, also the other thing too is this. And I'm not saying this is hard work. This is not rocket science. This isn't selling real estate here, right? There's a lot of people that think they can do this.
Oh, no doubt.
And they don't realize the amount of work that it takes. And when you work with a host like Mac, my co-host every day, he's like a brother, he's family, but he's a lot of energy. you have to, and I can't just come on one day and be like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like if you're at a desk job, you may have a day when you just shut your door and that's it. But in this world, I have to be T-Bone almost every day. Now, I could be happy or bad, but I have to have an energy level. I can't just be like, yep, that's right. So it takes a lot of more than people realize of energy to do this job.
Oh, no, I for sure. And I think everybody thinks they can. And as far as the text line, I want to know this. So when people text you, does it come across your computer, or how do you guys see the texts that come in?
There's like a website.
I'm one of those texters, by the way.
Are you?
You may have my number.
Let me get my iPad out and see if I've yelled at you anytime lately.
You haven't yelled at me. No, I actually
people just text the station phone number instead of calling it, and it goes right to this. We have it's like a website we log into so we can read it. So
yeah, because my question was, what's the motivation for fans to go watch the Panthers this fall? So that's what we'll get into that here in a second. And I know you're
so we check the text line, and you can check. It's like a website. You can do it like anywhere, but it's a very. We actually, hopefully my bosses aren't listening. It's we have to upgrade our service on that because we used to have a really good one where we could name people, so we didn't have to say like this person said or blah blah blah. We could actually name them. So whenever Super Terb would come up every time. This particular application, it just it doesn't name you. You can't do that. All we see is a phone, unless they type in the message, type in T-Bone or Terb.
I'm putting Super Terb in from now. There you go.
Right. So it makes it tough because I want to give a credit to where it's due or yell at somebody, and sometimes it's like, 704 says, and it's a little bit. You got to try to fix that.
Well, now I know. See, now I know. What's the what is your favorite person or athlete that you've interviewed?
Wow, it's been a lot because I booked probably I don't even know how many athletes I've booked. To think about how many guest bookings I've done.
What's the first one that pops to your mind?
Man, that's tough because there are certain people that you form bonds with that are so great that they may not be the biggest name and they may not even be an interview that people remember, but you know that when you see that person come up on TV or whatever, you know that person's the real deal and you root for that person. So we've had Cam in studio a couple times, Cam Newton for taped interviews. Yeah. I was not a part of those. I wasn't there. They were taped later in the day, so I didn't go in for it. So I never actually really met Cam, so I can't really – and I wasn't in the interview. So a guy like Cam, I can't say he's up there. LaMelo Ball's been great to us, but he's not a great interview yet. It's not – he's a big name right now, and as it goes forward, he'll be maybe the most prominent athlete this city has seen based off global appeal. But I can't say he's the – he's great because he gives you one-word answer. So he's getting better, but – I'm trying to think, guys, some of the broadcasters I love because I grew up a broadcasting nerd and an announcer nerd, and I love Ian Eagle, who does NBA, college basketball. We know the Nets. He's got 7 jobs, NBA and TNT. We know all the jobs Ian Eagle does. But Ian Eagle used to be a producer for Mike and the Mad Dog, the show I mentioned earlier I grew up listening to. He did what I did for so long. And then he went on and grew into this great broadcaster that we know. So, he's always willing, and, if you text Ian Eagle to come on, he'll have a back and forth with you, a fun back and forth. He gets it. There's certain guys that just – Vern Lundquist, another one, a hero for all of us.
Yeah.
He's, the nicest dude ever. Clark Kellogg, CBS. One time emailed to check on me one day just to say hi. And it's those things, so it's not necessarily, what they said on the air, but it's, those people that you get to know and they're your heroes, and there's a lot like that. And Jay Billis is always, just for terms of information, because he's been on so many times, Jay Billis is always great, right? He's strong. He's strong.
I remember when I was a manager, he would come and watch our practice too, which was cool. And no, that's that's a good.
But there's so many Charles Davis from football, who now is with Ian Eagle. He is one of the nicest guy. If I had to rank the top 2 or 3 nicest people, there's people like that I just, in my head as a producer, it's not necessarily about what they said on an interview. It's just knowing that those guys will be there for you really whenever you want them to.
And you say LaMelo, and it goes into my kind of next thing I want to talk to you about is the Hornets are they've been a blast to watch, and they look like, at least over the last few, they've tried to figure out some defense. But I think LaMelo, the fact that we were, just fortunate enough to go to the 3rd pick, get him. I remember that draft saying he's the one that's complete upside. I think the kid out of Georgia went 1. Was it Edwards? Then the big went to out of Memphis, went to Golden State.
Why?
We already seen those. Yeah, but LaMelo, he does things as when I was coaching, you can't teach. Similar to Cam. People want to cry. It's like you can't teach what is already on the field. Now it's how they do it. And for only being 20 years old and then having Bridges and Hayward played phenomenal last night, 2 missed shots, and Scary Terry. I mean, the fun that you see them making a trade, because I like what we have now. But I feel like our future is so bright there, and being a Hornets fan is like been Groundhog Day every day since, the Bobcats. I remember being in the old Coliseum. I think it was the last time we made it to the second round, and Milwaukee beat us. And that was the closest we've even got to the Eastern Conference Finals. So this city's due. But what are your thoughts on the Hornets, man? I know you're also pushed for
first
time,
of all,
so
they're trending in the right direction. A lot of times we're trying to figure out, can they even be in contention, or what draft pick do they need? And now we're sort of out of that. I think they're going to be in the postseason, whether it's the play-in area. I think they're trending towards a series now. The way they're playing, they're getting closer towards the top as much as they are the play-in, right? Like Cleveland's going to drop down a little bit. They're only 3 back of Miami in the win column for what are they? I think they're 3rd or 4th, whatever, in the division. So I think they're trending the right direction. I think they could get into a series and cause some damage without even having to make a trade. That's how talented they are. Now, if they want to do some damage and do some more than just be in a series, then they're going to have to make a trade. But the way they play at home, their depth, how good they are offensively, who wants to, in a series format, if that's what it ends up being, who wants to face that offense in a series? Because they have different guys every night. It could be Terry one night, Gordon one night, Oubre. They have 4 or 5 guys, five guys.
Oubre. Yeah.
Not the burger company, but they have 5 guys that can legitimately beat you. So I could see them in a 3-6, a 4-5, a 2-7 if that's what it is, and maybe not winning a series. But man, because their defense is still not there yet to win a series. But offensively, they can hang with about anybody in this league.
No, I think that I agree with you. I think they're close enough, and the NBA is the. I mean, going back, I believe, a year or two, but it's the most parity we've ever seen in the NBA. And so you're right. I mean, like the separation of wins between us and the Bulls, I believe they're up at the 1, is only like 5 games. Now we've got more losses, but then when you look at the amount of road games we've played, we have 10 more home games, coming up in the second half or the back end of the season. So it should be exciting. So I wanted to ask you about that, but I also
they also have one more thing on them real quick. They also have 2 against Oklahoma City, 2 against Detroit, 2 against Orlando, and 2 against New Orleans. So that's 8 games right there against the bottom half of the league. And they're going to face those teams when they're really in tank mode. I mean, they're bad already, but they're really going to throw out some horrible rosters. They also have 1 against San Antonio and 1 against the Pacers, who they've taken care of business against already this year. So they have 10 games right there that if you just do what you're supposed to do, and you go win 8 out of those 10 or whatever, and then you kind of split the other ones, well, then you're right in position where you're supposed to be. The thing is, they can't go like, 2-6. I don't think they would, but they got to take care of business. They have an opportunity there where they haven't faced the dregs of society yet as much in the NBA as some teams have. So that plays a factor here as well.
No, and that makes a great point because, again, the schedule is more favorable. I remember first half of the season, it felt like we were just on the West Coast the whole time. So, and then the couple wins they had when the whole team had COVID, it seemed like was pretty amazing, and took Philly to the wire both games. So it was nice to get that win last night and in that 16-game losing streak. So I want to flip real fast to the good and out to the bad.
Oh boy, let me get a little drink. Hold on, let me get a sip.
I need to lay down here for my Panther therapy. The last I've been going. It doesn't matter. My folks have had the season tickets from the beginning, but I've been a diehard fan since then and seen the ups, the downs, the 1 wins, the 2 wins, the NFC Championship, all that good stuff. But I will say I was in Arizona when Cam made his return. It was coincidental. I was out there for a real estate conference. We signed him. I'm leaving that stadium, and I got a biggest smile on my face going, we got Washington coming up. We're going to Miami, 5-5. Then it was the worst 7-game stretch I've ever had to be a part of as a Panthers fan. Now, the Washington game, it was just the way that we work. I was like, we're going to lose this game. Offense showed up. Defense, couldn't get off the field. But do you think Tepper's just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic?
It's a tough thing because I don't know how Rule survives it one more year because of all they need to fix. It's not like they need like a pass catcher or a pass rusher and then away we go. When you've got to figure out your offensive line and who's protecting your quarterback, and oh, by the way, you don't have that quarterback yet. How do you go about your business in 1 year and do enough to say we're good if you don't know the left tackle? You really don't know 4/5 of the offensive line, technically speaking. Now, there might be guys in-house that can fill those spots, but we don't know if they're there. We don't know. And then you don't have a quarterback yet. So unless they can pull off a miracle, and it's happened before, but I don't know how I'm rooting for him to survive. Like, I'm a fan. I don't want it to go bad. I just don't know what hope there is. Now, the Chiefs fixed their offensive line this year, but it's the Chiefs, and they've won championships. They've got Mahomes. They've got Hill. They've got all these. They've got the history behind them already. So I don't know how. I don't know what you do. And also, by the way, so I'm talking about the offensive line. I'm talking about the quarterback. Well, a question that gets lost in the shuffle is, how do you prepare for a season in what you want to be offensively? Even if you had the tackle and the quarterback, when Christian McCaffrey makes the money that he does, but yet you don't know exactly what he is anymore because of his body. Healthy, stud. He's finished 7 games in the last 2 years, 7 of 30-something games. So how do you plan? And I should have asked Matt Rule this, but we kind of ran out of time today on our interview. But how do you plan when you could plan a whole offense around McCaffrey and boom, he's gone in 5 games? That's not Rule's fault.
No.
He makes too much money to trade him because the cap hit is $26 million. And oh, by the way, who's trading for him?
No.
Who's going to say, yeah, we'll take it on? He's got to play at a high level for like a season for someone to go, yeah, we'll take him. It's same with Gordon Hayward. People want to trade Gordon Hayward, but it's like, who wants to take that on if they don't know if he's going to play or not? He's got to play and play well for a while. So he's here. How do you use him? How do you game plan for him? So Rule's got the left tackle, the guards, the quarterback, and he's got McCaffrey. I just don't, and no offensive coordinator yet, which we'll figure out. But how do you plan for that, and how do you fix that as fast as he may need to fix it?
No, I agree, and I tell everybody, there's no doubt Matt Rule's a good coach. Yeah, I mean, obviously, whether that's more in the college level, I mean, granted, that's all he was been at. But you're only as good as the horse you put on the field. I mean, there's no coincidence that the coach up there in Green Bay has won 3 straight seasons of 13-3. But what happens the games that Love fills in? A great quarterback can mask a lot of problems. Tom Brady wasn't running to any team. He picked out his O-line. He had his weapons. And so when you're Rule, I think where it gets me, they right now, obviously from what we've seen, they've gambled and lost with Darnold. I know exactly what they were thinking when they lost out with Stafford is, Darnold's got the physical traits. He can make the throws when protected. He obviously met him too, I think, at the interview when he went to the Jets, didn't get the job. And every coach thinks, I can fix that guy. Darnold, I was at the New England game. And after the pick 6, I looked at my buddy and I said, if he puts him back in the game, he's going to lose his locker room. And that's the worst I've ever seen one play the position of quarterback in my life. Now, granted, when he snaps the ball, the way we block is just yell, look out. So he doesn't have much time, right? So but where he also lost me was the Atlanta game, and he puts in Walker over Cam in the 2 minutes when you have a former MVP, a 10-plus year vet, Super Bowl, and he doesn't know the 2-minute offense coming off a bye week. That's where stuff like that just irked me, and that's where a lot of the fans are just frustrated.
Part of the inside information there on that for you is Cam's arm has been shot a little bit here for a while. So Cam throwing the ball down the field. So Cam and that 2-minute stuff, from my understanding and what I've been told and heard, is that the arm down the field is still a massive problem. So they were trying to not say that, but Cam's arm, and that's why there was the awkward 2-minute stuff, because they wanted Cam in there for what he could do, but not a fault of Cam. It's an arthritic shoulder. He couldn't make the throws. So,
I'm the biggest Cam fan there is. I love that guy. I know what it was like before we had him. I was in the Jimmy Clausen years where we scored 17 touchdowns in 16 games. Granted, we looked a lot like that this year. What Cam brought to the city, what he gave, with everything. But when he got hurt, I was at the game in 2016 when he chased down a meaningless interception that didn't count, fell on his shoulder against San Diego. And wasn't the same since. And I would love to see him retire, man. He has so much pride. He is, I mean, it's got to be the most frustrating thing when you take such great care of you physically, but your body's just not producing the way it was. Because when you take the element of Cam not running the football, he's a different player. And so I thought the homecoming was great. You know, it didn't end the way we want, but I would love to see him hang it up. I know a lot of Panther fans think he can come back and play and be this bridge quarterback for not what we want. I mean, eventually the 17-play drives have to stop. You know, we would love to have an explosive play here and there, but
I also don't know if you want the presence of Cam lingering over the franchise more than it has to be. So if he's just going to be a backup, let him go be a backup somewhere else. I don't know if I think that the vibe of the fan base sort of alters when Cam's around, and there are some fans that are more Cam fans than Panther fans, and that sort of infiltrates the system. So that's not a knock on Cam, but it's almost like, do you want him just hanging around, just doing nothing? I'd rather have someone else in there sort of get that. And by the way, glad you brought up the San Diego thing, because a lot of people blame T.J. Watt for the hit, and on Cam, that hit him hard, but it was already going. Like that's the problem. It was injured because Cam made that hustle play because Kelvin Benjamin was not hustling, like you talked about. So it goes back before that. So the TJ Watt play didn't help, but that TJ Watt play wasn't the sole reason he hurt his shoulder.
Well, I was at Pittsburgh when that happened, man. And you know, but the week before that is when he had to throw a ton against Philly when they were down 17-0. So it was on the downside, and you saw it in the All or Nothing documentary. So a couple more Panther questions, and I'm gonna get some rapid questions for you. But one, when do you think we'll hear from Tepper? I think that's the most frustrating thing with Panther fans right now is he loved to be in the spotlight. He's doing selfies with us in London, in Pittsburgh. We're winning. You know, I think he wants the best for this franchise, but now we don't hear a word from him. Even Irsay up there in Indianapolis to say it stops with me, you know, with their collapse. I think that's the frustrating thing. And then you don't even still know if Rule's going to be here next year or not, you know? And I think a couple, one, do you think he'll be the head coach? I think he will. I want to hear what you say. And when do you think we'll hear from Tepper?
I think he'll be the head coach. We'll hear from Tepper probably at halftime of the first soccer game when he says, "Welcome, everybody, to Charlotte FC," and then he rolls out. No, I don't know. I have no idea. It's got to be soon because Matt Rule was with us this morning, and then Matt Rule was on twice today. He was actually on our midday show. They put him on twice, back-to-back, and then Scott Fitterer's on today at some point this afternoon on our afternoon show. So those two guys are doing 3 interviews. They're being accountable. Say what you want about Rule. He's doing 2 interviews back-to-back, taking bullets that he deserves, some of them, but some he probably aren't all on him. So he's out there taking bullets, being accountable. Fitterer's out there. Now, he's not he's still new to the process here, but he's out there taking bullets with Kyle Bailey right now. Where's Tepper? But he's got questions to answer. He's got questions to answer as well. And when he first started here, as you said, he was a man of the people. He was the anti of what Jerry Richardson was at the end. He was out there. He was out and about. He was talking. Richardson never spoke. And all of a sudden, as they start to lose games here, I'm not talking about behavior. I'm talking about, like, presence. He stops talking. Like, that's Jerry Richardson. Like, he just became what he was supposed to not be. So, and he better speak on with the regular media. This better not be like Panthers.com, like Q&A or something this has to be to the media. And I'm not even saying us. I just mean to, like, the assembled media. Like, he's got to talk to the people that have questions. You can't be talking to the team reporters. So it's got to be out there, and it's got to be the people that are going to ask you the tough questions. It's got to happen.
Yeah, I think that would help solve. And again, as PS owners, they kind of have us by the nizzles because we're already bought in unless you sell your PSL. Like, as much as I'd say I actually sold my tickets for the Tampa game December 26th, which I never would do in a million years. It was the day after Christmas. I'm like, I'm not getting up Christmas morning. Most of the time we usually book hotels, the money you put in, and it's all things that we decide. But I was like, I don't need that. I got $750 for my tickets. I was like, extra Christmas money. Now I can't get upset when we're going to have Pittsburgh in next year, and we're going to have Baltimore in next year. Then we go to Baltimore, but we'll have, the prominent, the bigger market teams like this year. I thought we were in Minnesota. I thought we were in, Philly. And that's just as a Panthers fan. I know we're not generational, is the most frustrating thing. Now, when we're winning, people are coming out. Like 2015 was phenomenal. That's the one thing I want to say to you real fast, which I love the terminologies when they say that fan base travels well. I'm like, hell no, they don't travel. They just live there. How many people have been to Green Bay? No one's been to Green Bay. Their grandpas both, wrote for them, or Pittsburgh. They travel well. No, they don't. They didn't get on a plane and travel there. So anyway, that we'll see.
You mentioned the schedule for next year. That's another problem that Matt Rule's going to have. I looked at this like a month ago. Like, you look at the opponents for next year. I believe it's what it's the
and NFC West.
Yeah, so they got Seattle. Now Seattle, we don't know what they're going to be, but you got at least Arizona, Los Angeles Rams, and the 49ers. Well, there's three tough ones. And the AFC. And then you got your own division, and then you got AFC North, which is Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Any of those teams could end up being like 11 or 12 win teams for all we know at this point. So, I don't know. That's 8 tough ones right there of your 17. So their schedule is tough to navigate next year, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think we have the extra home game, and I may be wrong because at the 17 game, I think we have Detroit at home. I think that's the extra one, but I could be wrong. No, actually in the AFC, I will have to figure that out. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's not. You like to play the AFC South. That's here. We went to the bowl every time with the AFC South. It's always a little better opportunity. All right, so quick, I'm gonna have some rapid questions for you.
All right, let's go.
You got a busy schedule for you. I ask these to a lot of my clients, my guests. Favorite food.
Favorite food is cheeseburgers.
All right, from a particular place.
But high end cheeseburgers, like from fancy places, like Red Robin.
Oh, Red. Well, I love Red Robin too. Favorite
bottomless fries. Bottomless
band.
Fries at Red Robin. Yep. Oh, favorite band?
Yeah.
Foo Fighters.
All right. Favorite sports team now? I know you have like 15. But favorite sports team now?
I can't answer. I've got a lot of teams. No, I can't. That's like saying name your favorite children. I can't do that possibly.
Top 3. Do you have a top 3?
We'll say Duke, South Carolina, and the Yankees because they're right behind me right now. Those three right there behind me. And then we got the Jets and we got the Panthers and we've got I can't pick one. I love them all equally. They're my blood.
Did you
except for the Jets.
Except for them up as you went along.
I'm from Connecticut, so the New York teams are forever. Like, those are my teams growing up, and then like being down here, the local teams, and then Duke got picked up, and then there's a long story about the Gamecocks for another day. But but the Jets are the one I don't love, but they're sitting outside on the porch. Of course I love them, but they're not the one there won't be a Jets jersey up here anytime soon. They sit outside for a while and think about what they've done.
Oh man! So what do you like to do though when you're not on the radio? Playing with Mabel.
Am I ever not on the radio?
Right, so you were off like a few weeks ago. I think they made you take your vacation or something. What do you like to do?
Yeah, they actually sent me home and said you have to use your days. I said, why? So then I found out they sent me home then because they needed me for Christmas week. So they're like, well, if we send him home now, he can't get 5 days again later. So they basically gave my 5 days up early. I just like it's a very tiring schedule. So it's a very odd schedule to be the morning host. So just hang out. I love to organize my DVR. I'm great at DVR organization management. So I'm great about that. I got my dog Mabel here, a lot of time with her. And she's old as hell. So I take her to the vet like every other week. Yeah. So I take her to the vet every week for some issue she has. So this week this week she was stressed out because the radio show's at home. So she had to get anxiety pills this week, and she's got a bad hip now. So here we go.
She likes chicken nuggets too. All right, favorite movie.
Favorite movie is Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. All right, that's.
I also like Goodfellas though, because it reminds me of my childhood.
Well, and when I ask people, that's a tough question because someone asked me my favorite movie. It depends on the genre. I think a good way to gauge a favorite movie is what's a movie that you see on TV that you can stop at any particular time in the movie and finish it. So those are great.
The Home Alones are probably in there too, to be honest with you, because I've seen them.
I got
a million times.
For them, and I just started Game of Thrones. I heard the craze, and I just started season 2. And then I watched 3 episodes, and I had no idea. I had Wikipedia out and like a roster, and I just gave up. Now for a while there, I was trying to impress a female. I was trying to impress a female that watched the show, so I acted like I knew what was going on, and I would just read Wikipedia. She'd say, "Did you like the episode?" I said, "Absolutely," and I would just literally read off and memorize what I saw, and then I got caught, and now she doesn't talk to me. My wife last. We were like, "This is a show we can watch together." I think after the first
Because she would ask me, and
she's like,
I would try to name the characters, right? But I'm reading them. So some of their names are different. So like I would just completely butcher the names of the people. Like not even. I just gave up. I said,
"That's fantastic." All right, favorite place you visited?
Favorite place? I liked Los Angeles.
Okay,
I actually liked Los Angeles. It was
place you haven't been to, but you want to go to, or dream spot.
Dream spot. This is going to sound odd because it's not like a tropical. I need to go to Madison Square Garden at some point. MSG.
Really?
I know that's a weird. Yeah, I know that's not like Italy, but that's a bucket list one there. I haven't been to MSG, believe it. No, not inside of it. Been outside of it, but no, that's not like a tropical destination one. But that's one I need to put myself as a sports fan of New York teams. I got to go there at some point. I got to get in the Garden.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I try to go to one non-divisional game a year for the Panthers. I tell you what, I surprised my son in 2019. Woke him up at 5:45 in the morning on a Saturday. I had to keep it a secret for 2 months. I said we're going to Lambeau, so we sat front row.
Oh wow, yeah.
And that was a game it snowed where wasn't even supposed to snow. CMC got stopped at the one. They called the Phantom roughing the passer on Jerry McCoy.
Yeah.
But that place, I don't know if you've been to Lambeau, is unbelievable.
Haven't.
I mean, it's. I think
I tell you, okay, you've been to Cameron Indoor Stadium, right?
Yep.
That's an experience. I don't care if you hate Duke or love Duke. That is such a different experience than you can imagine because it's so small. It's like a high school gym, and you don't realize on TV that only the one side is crazy. Like it's so odd. Like you walk in and it's like there's the TV side that you see, but on the opposite side is just people sitting down. It's the old people. It boggles your mind. You're like, wait, the other side of Cameron's just quiet? It's not quiet, but it's like
March 7th, 2020. I actually surprised my dad. He's a big Dookie. We like Duke, and I got tired of saying maybe next year.
Yeah.
And, my bucket list thing was Duke, Carolina. So I surprised him. We sat in zone, last row, and that was when Robinson kid had a great game. 5 days later, everything was shut down, but I was glad we had to do that. So yeah,
I'll be there for K's last game, but I won't be going inside. I'm just gonna go hang out. I'm gonna say I was there forever. People I was there. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. And then you don't give the details of like I never went inside. Oh, I was there for K's last game. So I'm gonna be there for K's last game. No one knows I wasn't in the stadium or Cameron Indoor. Yeah.
No, that's definitely the same thing with Lambeau. It was a great trip, great memories with my son. We went to Dallas this year. I was in my worst nightmare in the third quarter, surrounded by Cowgirl fans. But I've also went to the London game. That was an event. Yep. And we got to win that one. So all right. You can have dinner with two people, either dead or alive. Who are they?
Two people, dead or alive. Wow, that's a complex one. Dead or alive. Man, you threw me off on that one. Dead or alive. Well, how about hanging out with the late great John Madden for a dinner and just learning football and talking about all that he's seen. That would be a pretty awesome. Cool one, right? That would be awesome. So that would be unfortunately that would have been an alive one, like 2 weeks ago. As far as an alive person, it's got to be Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
The Rock. Okay.
It's got to be that. Yeah, it's got to be Dwayne Johnson. I love Dwayne Johnson.
Those are too good. So what's your favorite charity? Do you have a charity that you support?
Anything that involves cancer research and anything that V Foundation's really good and anything that involves.
You're the first podcast starting in 2022. So I'm going to put down Jimmy V. But we're going to donate $50 in your name to that charity. I'm going to start doing
also, anything that involves senior dog awareness or rescuing dogs or whatever, anything that involves that as well. So that's my.
Because we have the Jimmy. So we also have the Triangle Beagle Rescue, where I got all three of my beagles. I actually had one of the gentlemen that helped run that. So I'm always trying to give back there. But this year, I wrote out my letter to the hearts of my clients, sphere friends, and today is just a year of giving. So also anybody that buys and sells a home with me, we're going to donate $50 to their charity. So just to give back. So we'll make a note of that. So lastly, I ask this to everybody that's come on the Super Terb podcast. At some point, we will retire. I don't know when, but with that point, I'm going to make a book. I say that. I'm going to have to go back and listen to a lot of podcasts. But the best advice you've ever received, and by who?
The best advice I ever received. Remember when I started this podcast today, I said Sandy Penner was a host, right? Actually, can I give two out? Because I think there's two there that affect me a lot. So Sandy Penner, when I first started, I talked on the air. I said, "How do I sound?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, do I sound okay?" He's like, "What are you going to be, Marv Albert?" And it hit me like, "Oh, okay. You don't have to be classically voiced broadcaster to do what we do, right? It's great to have it, but like, as long as you're entertaining and you're informative and you create discussion and you move people in a certain way, you don't have to be Kevin Harlan or Marv." So that hit me like, oh, because when you're growing up, you think, oh, I've got to have a certain voice or be a certain way. And then it's like, oh, so you could just be yourself and then let your personality take over. So that was one as I got into radio that meant something. There's also one from ninth grade that sticks with me too. When, I was always the funny one all the time, but it was almost like reserved funny. Like I wasn't a class clown necessarily. Like other people would do stuff, and I'd be the guy commenting or whatever that guy just. You know what I'm saying? Like I was not out there outwardly like standing on top of desks and throwing things in the air. It just was never mine was more conversational humor. So we were in a ninth grade theater arts class, and I was in a play I was the Ghost of Christmas Past. Ridiculous to think about. But I wasn't putting all into it. Like I was reserved a little bit and not like going all in. And the theater arts teacher took me aside and said, "Why do you hold back?" He said, "You can be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do, but you've got to believe in it and you've got to go for it." He said, "You're half in, you're half out." And this is ninth grade. I don't know this guy. It's like Martin Short. He's like 5'1", but I'm like, he said, once you want to go for it, you can do whatever you want to do. You're going to be a star wherever you want to do. And I'm thinking like, what is this guy talking? And I realized, all right, well, if I hold back, I can't be what I want to be. I didn't know it was going to be radio. So from that moment on in high school, and by the way, I'd only been in North Carolina at that point for 2 years. So I didn't, and it's high school. It's like the first month. And I don't know that many people. So from that point on, I said, all right, you want me to go for it? I'll go for it. Did it in class. And 4 years later, I got best sense of humor for high school. For the class. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you think about, I'd only been with these people for 4 or 5 years, and I made an impact to get voted for that. And I think that guy's advice sort of set me up, my personality-wise, to not hold back, to say what you want to say, to don't be shy, to use humor. And I think that moment there changed my thinking at a young age of like, oh, okay, my personality here, I can do some things. I think that was big too.
I love that. That's great, man. I have one other question here. It just came across from a good friend of mine. We do a group text every day. He's my fraternity brother. Do you know a Miss Kazaban and Penner? I don't know if you heard. Was that someone from high school that you know or middle school? I have no idea.
No, that's a typo. When Penner started here.
Oh, Penner. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, when Penner started here, Steve Zabin was his co-host. And he went on to. So that's supposed to say Steve Zabin, not Miss Zabin.
Okay. I was like, who is that?
Yeah, no, you're all right.
And what are the positions of need outside of quarterback and O-line for the Panthers?
They drafted Tommy Tremble, but they've never replaced Greg Olsen either, by the way. That production at tight end has been, and when you have these quarterbacks that are that bad, and you got no McCaffrey for the short passing game, they also don't have reliable tight ends either. A guy that could be in this league. How many good teams have that tight end that they give to? He goes and gets. They don't have that either. And I'm not saying Tremble can't be part of that, but they need to find a tight end too that can be like a serviceable third down guy. That's important.
Like a Kittle.
They need some help next to Derek Brown because that run defense was so bad towards the end. Mm-hmm. They also need some more. I know that Reddick and Burns are great, but Reddick's a free agent. Are they too similar though? They're both kind of skinny, fast guys. And I feel like they kind of get pushed around a little bit. So a little more beef up front, another pass-catching tight end. And we have to see about, the receivers let them down this year, not named DJ Moore. Robbie was awful for the most part. Terrace Marshall didn't do a lot. We thought those guys were guaranteed factors. We have to see what those guys are. I kind of like Brandon Zylstra, by the way. I think he's got a little something there in that receiving group to be a fourth guy or something. I kind of like Zylstra.
Yeah. And we didn't see much out of Shi Smith. And then wonder, last year here, I know McCaffrey wasn't there, but you had Moore and Anderson go 1,000. Then they did a lot of crossing patterns with Teddy. And, I don't know.
I talked to a Panther source yesterday, and he brought up something that was really interesting that's not brought up when it comes to the offense and the lack of help. Robbie was half the production of last year, right? So they were counting on him to be almost equal to what he was last year. He wasn't. He's half of that. Christian McCaffrey, not much of anything, right? Don't forget Curtis Samuel's production was gone too.
Yes.
So they lost half of Robbie, all of Samuel, and McCaffrey didn't do anything that you thought he was going to do this year. So the loss of Curtis Samuel, by the way, because he didn't do much in DC, kind of is another one where it's like, yeah, how much production did they actually lose that they were counting on this year?
Yeah, no, and it inherited going in. I'm thinking on paper, you got to stay healthy, but especially with Joe Brady or what you thought, that's a whole other topic. But I think as any fan, and we'll wrap up here in a second. I just can't thank you enough for coming on, bro.
Oh no, man, no problem.
Personally, I think every fan just wants hope going in, and you look at a lot of franchises. We mentioned the Jets, and you look at Detroit, and there's Jacksonville. You just don't want to feel like you got a chance, and that's what the NFL is designed for. Now you've extended to 17 games, 7 teams get in. It wasn't until even the last weekend. It's crazy that weekend people were playing for that last spot. So, and you look, and it's a bounce here, it's a missed kick here. Think about the. I think it was the Atlanta game. I think we dropped 3 interceptions early on. Even the last game of the year, I think it hit right off Hartsfield's chest. But you make the play. You look at 2015. I always look at the play. We're at Seattle. We have Seattle at home, divisional. Stewart breaks off the first run. Very next play, they put in the backup. What was the name? He wasn't here, but it was a few years. Anyway, he fumbles. And luckily, Tolbert's sitting right there to land on it. I always think, what happens if they get the ball? It's like little things that. It's just, you have a lot going on. But anyway, any final thoughts for coming on the Super Terb podcast? First of all, and then lastly, let everybody know how you mentioned social media. I get to listen to you guys every morning through, is it Odyssey or something? Whatever the app is.
WFNZ. You can download the app, the WFNZ app. It's scrolling across your screen there. So W as in football, W as in whale, F as in football, N as in Nancy, Z as in zebra. So WFNZ app, download it. Just that. You can listen live and listen back to various clips, and that's it. And don't find me on social media. I don't want to talk to anybody. So don't. No, I'm just. I'm at T-Bone. I'm at T-Bone WFNZ on Twitter, and that's the best way to find me. I don't want any more Facebook friends. I don't need that. I don't want that. That's a cesspool I don't want to wade through right now. As we're on Facebook, by the way. So shout out to Facebook.
And last side note, you saw Cam Reddish is a Nick now. Yeah.
That's Atlanta's lost 9 home games in a row. The Hawks have. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Yeah, immense talent. He's actually more talented than R.J. Barrett is offensively. Pairs with his former Duke teammate. Kind of a no-brainer deal for the Knicks. They got a guy with great upside there. So.
No question. All right, man. Well, I appreciate. Usually, I feature a local beer of the week. I'm going to do that in the next podcast. I wanted to use all the time we could to visit and get to know you, ask all questions, great answers. But I can't thank you again for coming on, T-Bone. Guys, if you like the podcast, again, you're going to be famous now. You're already kind of famous. This is taking you over the top, T-Bone. You're going to be an Apple.
Yeah.
You're on Spotify now. You're already on YouTube streaming live. You're on LinkedIn streaming live, and now Facebook. So if you guys like the podcast, please subscribe.
Am I on Yelp? I'm going through my app. Am I on Yelp? Am I on DocuSign? Am I on what else have we got on my app? So am I on Chick-fil-A? Am I on the IRS? So that's an app I need to delete. I'll get that out of there. All right, yeah, we're good.
I'll figure all that out. No, but I appreciate if you guys like the podcast, guys. I really appreciate the support. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. And as always, if you're needing any help with accomplishing your real estate goals, please reach out to me. Obviously, I'm here again in the Triangle, which is in Wake County. What we like to say, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel, mainly Wake County. Can't thank you enough. Again, it's Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Terb Group, Coldwell Banker, HPW. Signing off with T-Bone. And as always, guys, remember, who you work with matters, and we'll see you next time. See ya.